Hello everyone and welcome. Today we are talking about the Celtic Goddess Oracle deck. This is by Jillian Kemp and the illustrations are by Julia Cellini. This deck is still pretty new. It was released in July and this was a rare occurrence for me where without having looked at a flip through video of this deck, I knew I wanted it. I am super picky and I always watch a couple flip through videos before I decide if I want a deck or not. I try to be mindful and selective about what decks I bring into my collection. So I don't want to just get every deck that looks kind of pretty or something. Like, I want to be a little more intentional than that, and just make sure it's something I really want to bring into my practice. With this deck, it was one of the first times I think that I've ever just like on a whim been like, I need that deck. I've always felt a connection to the ancient Celtic world in general. And so when I saw this deck, I think that was kind of what made it a little easier for me, because I've just always felt a pull towards these types of things. And I've been wanting to learn more about different Celtic goddesses, and there are a ton in here I've never even heard of. There's some I'm familiar with, some I've heard of, but I'm not familiar with them. I don't know much about them. And then there's others that are completely new to me. And I like that. It gives you the opportunity to learn a bit. So you've got 52 different goddesses in here. It's 52 cards and an illustrated guidebook that's full color, which is really nice. The box is a little magnetic side closure type of box. It's a good size. I like to store my decks in their boxes. It's my preference, at least. And this is a nice size. It's not super huge, where if I wanted to take this somewhere with me, it's not absurd. It's obviously not as small as just taking the deck, but it's not crazy. So I like that. The guidebook itself is full color, like I mentioned, which is really nice. The quality of the paper is pretty good. It's got a little bit of a gloss to it, so it's a little bit sturdier. It's a nice book. I've read through it a little bit with a couple of the cards that I have pulled from the deck in the small amount of time I've had to work with it. And I do really like the way that the information is presented in this deck. It says here, channel the power of amazing Celtic divinities. So opening this book up, you do get an introduction and just some kind of basic standard guidebook type of information you get with most decks. You get some spreads specific to certain goddesses, like here you have one for Caridwen. You've got all different types of spreads here, though. I thought this was kind of cool. I've never heard of this before, the 5-card Celtic Cross Protection spread. I've heard of the Celtic Cross, but this is different and kind of interesting. So I haven't really looked at it or tried it, but I like when decks kind of give you some new ideas for spreads and keeps things fresh in your practice, I think. Here you have your table of contents for the goddesses, and you get into the goddesses from the deck. You've got a fair amount of information about each of the goddesses. Here we have Modron, goddess of motherhood, so explains what she is the goddess of, and then you've got a couple key words for each one. Here you have fertility, nurturing, and affection. Country of origin is Wales. It has the country of origin for each of the goddesses, and then you have a fair amount of information on each of the goddesses. And then you have Modron's message, so if you're pulling this card, what kind of the message of the card or this goddess is, if you're working with her, that kind of thing. And then this is what's cool. I always love when decks do things like this. This is Modron's spell for the birth of an ambition. So each of the goddesses have a different either spell or some sort of an exercise to work with each of them based off of their energy and what they are the goddess of. And it offers an opportunity for you to connect with that goddess at a more deeper level and kind of bring that energy into your practice a bit, which is cool. So I really like this guidebook. I think it's a great little tool, and because I'm wanting to learn more about Celtic goddesses, I think this is a great deck to do so, because you're getting a pretty good amount of information, at least a good jumping off point, where you can certainly do more research from here to learn more if you'd like. But, you know, it's not like 2 sentences on each of them. Like, it's not just like goddess of wisdom with like 3 keywords and that's it. You get a little bit of information on each one, you know? And I like that. So this is a great little book. And then now getting into the thing everybody probably is waiting for, the deck. So They're not in order because I have worked with them, as I said, so I apologize for that, but I will flip through them all so you can see how beautiful the artwork in this deck is. The cardstock itself is a little glossy, but nothing crazy. Like, you can see it's catching the light, but it's not, you know, out of control or anything. It's an okay cardstock. It's not bad. It's not like the best I've ever used, but it's pretty good. I have another deck that has a similar cardstock to this, and it's held up really well, and it works well. I'm not picky about cardstock though, so it's just something I'm sharing because I know people want to know about it, but it's not a deal breaker for me unless it's like unusable because the cardstock is so horrible, that sort of thing. Anyways, getting into the cards. So there are a lot of goddesses in here I've never heard of before, as I mentioned. So I'm just going to flip through, and I'm not going to like read off each of their names. I don't know how to pronounce some of them, and I don't want to botch their names. So I'm just gonna, I don't want to also sound foolish trying to figure it out either. So I just figure for the sake of the video, it'll probably be a more enjoyable viewing experience if you just see the artwork and can appreciate how beautiful these cards are. So yeah, beautiful artwork. The artwork is very soft and feminine. Obviously, it's a goddess deck. It's very beautiful. Look how gorgeous that is. I love that, the horse. There's a lot of animals in this deck with the goddesses, I've noticed as well, which adds another layer, I think, to readings. If you are using an element of intuitiveness in your readings with this deck, it adds something. Just also the atmosphere they're in adds a little something. I always like considering all of those things in a reading, regardless of the type of deck I'm working with. Lots of animals here. But yeah, I just love, I love all the use of colors, and I love the soft feeling. It's just a really beautiful deck. And I love all the very different feeling energies of all the different goddesses. It's cool because you have so many of them, you're gonna get a bit of everything, and I think that's what I like. So many cute dogs in this deck as well. I love this card. And also, I kind of want her outfit, and her hair is glorious. Yeah. So there's some really cool cards in here, and you get goddesses at all ages and all walks, if you will, which is cool. You're getting a little bit of that maiden, mother, and crone energy in here. Which is nice. I think sometimes you see in some goddess decks, they portray all of the goddesses as super young, like youthful. And though I think that's fine, it doesn't bother me. I think it's kind of cool that in this deck, because some goddesses aren't intended to be depicted in that way. They're more mature energies. They have more wisdom. They've seen more. And I think that it's cool when you can see it, when, you know, you have a little bit of different, you have some different ages being portrayed in the deck. It's kind of cool. You can connect with the different phases of womanhood and all those things. This is really funny. I just have to ask and mention this. I did not know that Epona was a goddess. In Legend of Zelda, I believe, it's been a minute, so forgive me if I'm wrong, I believe it was Link's horse. Maybe it wasn't his horse, but I know it was a horse in the game was named Epona, and I think it's so funny that there's a goddess named Epona and she's on a horse in her picture where she's being depicted. Does anyone else remember Epona? Am I tripping on, was that Link's horse? Does anyone remember? I remember him riding Epona, but I don't know if it was like actually his horse. But I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing, how sometimes when we're kids, we're exposed to things that we find later in life, and we see that they have like another meaning that they were inspired by or derived from. I don't know if that's the case with that goddess and the horse, but I just thought it was interesting because that's what it made me think of. I love the artwork here. But yeah, you have all different types of imagery. Like this is very like happy and bright and colorful, and she's very serene. You get a bit of everything. You get some more shadowy energy, all different kinds of things, and it's really cool. Yeah, I love this deck. I think it's so beautiful, so soft and feminine, obviously, but really beautiful deck. I highly recommend it if you're interested in learning more about Celtic goddesses. If you like collecting goddess decks, or you're like working with goddesses, this is a great one to add to your collection. I really do like these types of decks, like goddess decks in general, so I was excited to add this to my collection. Let me know if you have any questions at all. I also hope that if you enjoyed this video, you would consider subscribing to my channel. I make videos around tarot and spirituality. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care and be well. Bye.